welcome to the Goober Support podcast, episode 3. We've done a couple of these, making some adjustments slowly as we go along here. Today we're talking about what is Goober Support, why do we have any credibility to talk to you about tech problems, tech issues, and all of the other fun topics that we're going to get into here. I'm Zach, joined alongside me.
And I'm Matt.
And we're going to be going over exactly what we do. So there are kind of two sides to the Techno Goober company. The first one is just straight up Techno Goober. They do website design, digital marketing, and SEO. That's search engine optimization. So their whole focus is growing your business and showing your business through the power of digital marketing. We're a little bit different though. We're the IT side of the company.
We kind of try supporting your devices and software that keep your business running. And we're going to talk about a few of those different things that we do, in fact, do. So you want to list some examples of what break fix is?
Yeah, break fix is a term that is pretty easy to explain. It's you break it and we fix it. So it's the perfect blend of both things for residential and commercial clientele that we have. There's a lot that goes into it though, so let's go ahead and break it down a little bit further.
Yeah, one of the biggest ones is fixing computers, if you want to talk about a few of those topics.
Yeah, fixing computers, obviously, that's the bread and butter of it, right? So everything from viruses and malware that can contaminate your computer and cause all sorts of issues there. We can go ahead and clean those up, get those off of your machine. Also, hey, over time, computers get slow. There's a ton of issues that we can fix that all relate back to just slowness of your devices. Our biggest one, just moving on to a new drive. You'd be surprised at how much more life you can put into a computer just by switching from an old style hard drive to an SSD. The other thing that we do a lot of, broken screens and batteries. As people switch more and more to laptops instead of their old desktop computers, and you're carrying around these small portable devices, you're going to spill them, you're going to drop them, you're going to have all sorts of issues. So that can cause a lot of issues if you can't see the screen that you're working on. In a lot of cases, we can actually replace those screens and replace those batteries, although I will put a little caveat there. Certain devices and models we're unfortunately not able to do anything with. It kind of depends on the manufacturer of the device. And then Windows is always a big problem, so there can be problems with updates, and if they're not working correctly or Windows itself gets corrupted, there's a lot of things that we can do to try and fix that, put things back into place, and hopefully get the device back up and running. Which brings us to our last kind of computer fix solution here, which is backups. And at this level, we're more talking local backups, something like an external hard drive that's keeping a copy of all your files. Later, we'll talk about some more of our cloud managed backups that are a little bit more automatic.
So you want to tell the people watching what we do with building and setting up new PCs?
Yeah, the process for setting up new PCs, obviously, you just put a lot of money into a new device and you want to have it up and running basically as soon as you possibly can. So one of the things that we can do there is either clone the data completely over to the new device, kind of like when we just talked about giving a device a drive replacement, but we can also just transfer over what's necessary to move forward. So either way we go with that, it's going to put you in a spot where all your files are back where they belong. In some cases, we might even already have printers installed. Lots of good things to just make it so you open up the computer and you're just back where you left off. Building a new computer, a little bit of a different process, but that's definitely something that we've done. We've done custom builds, both for gaming, but also for more of a server role. We've also done a couple for camera solutions. So there's a lot of different issues that we can solve there and kind of optimize the build more for what your intention is, from the device. So we've actually quoted a couple audio-centric ones where the client was a musician and they were trying to record some music. So we can tweak those in whichever way we need to.
Yeah, you had mentioned some printer things in there when you were talking about setting up a new PC. You want to go into more detail about them?
Yeah, printers. Look, we like them just as much as you do. They're terrible. The best way to fix the printer is just to take a baseball bat. No, obviously joking. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with printers though, and sometimes all they need is a quick lube job, honestly, and a lot of things can go back to how they are. Getting paper jams unstuck, all that sort of stuff. Anything can really keep a printer bogged down and keep it from doing its job, and it's frustrating when it's not able to just do its one job. So a lot of times the printer stuff is going to be a combination of both in our shop and on site, which we're talking about next, but there's a couple things that we can do inside the office to kind of help printers along.
So it's just mostly standard computer repair shop stuff.
Yeah, all of this stuff we just listed, I mean, it's what you would expect any of your big box stores to offer as a service. We're able to put a little bit more love into it because we're not necessarily tied to any sort of product sales or anything like that. So we genuinely want to fix the device, keep some e-waste out of the world, help you along, and kind of make the whole process as painless as possible. And that's one of the things that we have a little bit more freedom to do than maybe some of your other computer repair shops like you were saying.
Yeah, and sometimes we even like try to explain to you what was wrong, and a lot of times those big box companies don't do that.
Yeah, they just hand you kind of a receipt basically. So that's the heart of it. We want to put love. Into it.
So we want to define hour by hour?
Yeah, hour by hour service. This is where we start to break a little bit more towards the commercial side, but there's still some home user stuff that comes up in this category. Hour by hour just literally means you pay by the hour. It's one of our key points on our business model here. So
so we also do some remote support. What are some of the things we do in that?
Remote support can cover a lot of stuff. It's one of the things that we are going to try first, because we don't want to charge people for coming on site unless we absolutely have to. It's easier for us. It's also less of a time sink if we can do things remotely. So we do have a remote software that you can install on your computer. You let us have access to the computer and we can see what you see. We can even take control and click some of the buttons ourselves. And there's a lot that we can do with that tool. It's very powerful. And a lot of times, if you're having an issue and you're able to call us up right then and there, that can be the most critical piece of information to actually see what is happening. Because, as so many times we will try to replicate the issue and it just won't be able to be reproduced. So if we can catch it right there in the moment, it's splendid.
So what exactly is remote support like?
Remote support is that ability to be able to join somebody from our office on our computer. We can join into your computer. Like I said, click all the buttons, view the screen, see exactly what's going on. Very, very helpful in a lot of that printer support that we talked about a minute ago, because so often we can't configure the printer unless the computer, is at your house on the same network in the same conditions as it would normally be.
So we also do some home networking. That's a big one too. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, Wi-Fi speeds, that's everything, right? We want it all to be as fast as possible when we have Netflix on every TV in every room, and little Jimmy's on his tablet, and you're trying to send an email real quick from your phone. So home networking, it's also like small office networking as well, kind of lumps into this category, but just optimizing those devices. Wi-Fi has come a long way in the past couple years. If you haven't updated your equipment at home in, I would say, the last 4 or 5 years, it's probably time to get a little bit of an upgrade there. You're going to see a big speed boost from inside your home network. Also got to make sure your outside network matches those speeds to get the most out of it. But we've done everything from mesh Wi-Fi networks to extend that range all the way up to just full like server level builds where we've got routers and switches and firewalls. So kind of everything in between there as well. So it kind of depends on what your usage is and what you're trying to get out of your home internet. Do you have any sort of home NAS device that you need to get to very quickly? Do you have 7 TVs that you're trying to all watch Netflix on at the same time? We can kind of custom build and just optimize your home network to make sure, yes, you're getting what you're paying your ISP for, and also that you're getting the most out of what you have.
So there's a lot of maintenance involved in an hour by hour. What's hour by hour maintenance?
Hour by hour maintenance.
Yeah. Tongue twister there.
Yeah, maintenance is kind of a weird one. It's split between this category and the one that we're going to talk about next. But if you're not taking care of your computers on a more regular basis, you're going to run into issues at some point. What we like to do is be able to go in there, check on those Windows updates that I referenced earlier, check on the integrity of Windows file system, blow out the literal dust that can form in computers. It's one of the jokes that the original term for debugging came from the old style computers where it literally filled up an entire room, and they would have to actually go in and remove bugs from these giant computers. That sort of thing, it still causes issues with computers no matter how small we get them, especially laptops, because they don't have a lot of room for cooling as it is. So any amount of dust, pet hair, whatever can get in there, it's going to clog it up and it's going to cause it to slow down over time, and it can lead to some really big issues. So keeping up with some regular maintenance, so important to extend the life of your computer and also to get the most out of it.
On the other side of the remote support coin, we have on-site support, which is usually kind of our last resort. There's a few different levels to it in which we do different things. If you want to talk about those said levels.
Yeah, it really just kind of comes down to how big is the problem. If we do have to come on site, usually that means it's a little bit of a larger issue, and it requires that little bit more hands-on TLC, extra love. Depending on the issue, it does go up in price quite a bit, which is why we try to hold on to it as a last resort. But there's so many benefits that can be gained from actually seeing the thing that is causing the issue with your own eyes, and being able to just touch it with your hands. There are times where it's like, okay, yeah, go ahead and unplug the router. I'll say that over the phone. And if the person doesn't know what the router is, that can end up being a bit of a bear to overcome to actually get that router reset. If we're on site, I just reach over and yank the cord. So sometimes in that sort of situation, it's necessary, and we love getting that face-to-face time with our clients and with our partners. And when it does happen, it hopefully goes pretty smoothly at that point. So that's one of the reasons we offer it.
So kind of just like the plumber for digital devices, yeah?
Yeah, hour by hour at that tier, that's basically what we are. If your sink clogged, or your toilet, you'd call a plumber. That's what we're gonna do. You have an issue, you call us up, we respond to it. So that's how a lot of our clients kind of like treat our service, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in this next category, we're going to start getting into how larger businesses can kind of utilize us in a more useful way, and also just a different way of thinking.
So yeah, it's something called an MSP. Can you define exactly what that is?
Yeah, an MSP, we're getting into the alphabet soup of IT terminology here, but it's a managed service provider. So that it's the idea that there's going to be services, now that could be software, but it can also be hardware, that we're going to provide, okay, but the managed part of it is the important part here. It's the idea that we have a good amount of insight into these products and these services. We can help along with them, we can help configure them, help implement them, and help plan them. that's the whole idea. This is where we really start to get into that area where it's, we're keeping you up and running. It's kind of that, being up a little bit more ahead of the issues. So there's a ton of services that we offer that fall into this MSP category.
Speaking of all those services, like we have email hosting.
Yeah, email hosting is a big one. In the modern age, if you're a business and you're using joeschmo@gmail.com, you're going to have a hard time reaching some of your customers nowadays. There's just tons of protocol in place and even laws technically that can prevent you from sending from those addresses. That you might be getting picked up as spam mail, and you might not even be reaching your customer's inbox. That is a huge issue, especially if you're sending out bills. You're not going to get paid if they don't get it, right? So email hosting here, it's this idea that it can be attached to your website's domain. So let's just say, for instance, technogoober.com, right? And being able to send out emails at your own domain, it looks very professional. There's also better ways of organizing it so that teams or groups of people can get the same emails. So maybe you split it off so that your billing department has their own email, or your sales department has their own email, whatever the case may be there. But having multiple team members look at one mailbox and being able to collaborate on that together can be really useful for a business to kind of just keep those gears moving a little bit.
An actually massive one in the MSP kind of thing is cybersecurity. What do we help with in that regard?
Cybersecurity is a big one. We're not going to even be able to cover it all here today, but obviously you have to keep the devices clean. So that is fully managed antivirus, anti-malware, EDR. Again, we can get into the alphabet soup of it here, but that's the idea, is keeping the devices themselves clean, keeping the emails that we just talked about, even if you're not getting them through us, keeping the emails as clean as possible so you're not falling victim to that spam that I mentioned earlier, and that you're actually the one logging into your email, all the way up to dealing with entire compliances and laws and regulations that have been set by certain industries, whether it's the government, whether it's just an outside party. Some of them are like general practice, like recommendations, less so than laws, but trying to get you to a point where you are safe, obviously, but also your customers are safe and their information is safe. And it really requires kind of every link in that chain from beginning to end to be locked down, to be monitored, and to be managed in order to get that result.
Did we want to talk about some of the dangers of a lack of cybersecurity, or?
It's everything. Losing reputation from the other businesses that you also work with and your customers. I think that's one that a lot of people don't necessarily consider. If you're constantly falling victim to some of these hacks or some of these scams, other businesses might not want to do business with you. So if you have anybody in your supply chain, anybody you're getting products from, they might want to stop doing business with you. Your banks also might want to stop doing business with you. It also can lead to a lack of reputation from your own employees if they're constantly having to deal with this, and in some cases apologize for this happening. But just the idea that, really, in today's day and age, your information is your business. Your customer list, your contact list, your actual data, all of your receipts, all of that is your business nowadays. And if that gets manipulated, if it gets leaked, if it gets just straight up deleted, you're going to have issues. And so if you're letting something happen where they're able to get into your systems and mess with any of that information, you're going to be facing downtime and you might not be able to recover. It's one of those things, 62%, I think it was 62, it was somewhere between 62 and 68% of small businesses that fall under a cybersecurity attack, that they're closed within a year. It's something that we're all kind of aware of in the cybersecurity space. Of course, those numbers can differ depending on which avenue you go through, but it's definitely somewhere in that range. That's a high number. So we try our best to keep everything locked down.
Yeah, especially considering the majority are those smaller to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
We also do some IT consulting. What are some of the things we provide insight on?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of everything that I've talked about so far and projects that might be upcoming. So when I mentioned something like optimizing an office network, that is something that we can absolutely help consult on and help plan out. But we also have tools that tell us how old every single computer is. And we can hopefully, if we form a relationship and we're working with a company for long enough, we can tell them basically exactly which computers are going to need to be replaced this upcoming year or this upcoming quarter, and help kind of build a budget. The whole idea of the IT consulting is getting to a price point, and then how do you meet that price point and still keep everything moving and still keep everything kind of flowing along. And this is a huge service that I think is starting to get a little bit lost. It is hard to navigate being a business now here in 2024 without some form of IT consulting. It could be something even as simple as, okay, hey, I have 3 different options for an online platform to send out billing, for instance. Which one is going to work best for me? And if you're not technical, you might need the help of somebody that is, to kind of just guide you along that. Of course, nobody's going to know your business better than you, but we know the technical side of it, so we can kind of lend a
It's a big teamwork
helpful ear.
thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
This full management. How exactly do we provide those services to a business?
Yeah, full management is when we are able to come into a business, basically have free reign. You let us know, okay, blank check policy almost, right? I mean, we're not going to obviously put you out of your means, but being able to control the network, being able to control the devices, being able to control the software, being able to control what we call the entire stack, it puts us into a position where hopefully if any issues do come up, we have all of the insight that we would need to solve that as fast as possible, and in some cases, maybe even before it actually gets noticed by anybody, which is even better when we can just send an email. Hey, that thing that you were having issues with, it's done. And the person on the other end goes, I didn't even know that was an issue. That's the idea of full management, is that we're able to really kind of encompass your entire business and help it along the way.
So the next talking point, disaster recovery, is a pretty scary one. It's one that we hope that no business has to go through. What do we do to help you?
Disaster recovery is, yes, obviously like some sort of disaster has happened, right? And it's how do we get you back up and running? So one of those is going to be those cloud backups that I mentioned earlier. We're finally circling back around to them. Some of the software and the programs that we have do automated backups where it goes straight to the cloud, and at any point we can pull that information back down, hopefully get it reinstalled and get it reset up so that you can go right back to work within a matter of hours instead of days, weeks, sometimes even months. But the disaster recovery part of it too, I do want to just mention, sometimes disaster can be put in quotation marks because that can cover everything from, okay, you have a cybersecurity incident and you're hacked, all the way down to, hey, I accidentally threw my laptop in the pool while I was on vacation. So it kind of covers kind of a breadth of ideas there. And being able to recover at any time from little notice, that's an advanced level service that you really have to form a relationship with a company to get out of them. And it's something we hope to be able to form with many of our partners as well.
So overall, it's kind of a proactive approach instead of a reactive one?
Yeah, exactly. In this one, we're trying to see all of the issues that could happen, shut the door on as many of those as we can. Obviously, nobody's perfect. We're all human. But the more of those doors that we can shut off before it actually opens up to an issue, the better. That's the icing on the cake.
So the last big major areas, projects.
Absolutely.
What exactly are those? And what does that mean to a home client or a business?
Yeah, projects are a little bit of an outskirt on this one. It's why we saved it for last. There's, again, a mix of people that can benefit from some of the projects that we do. It's this idea that it's a one-off job. It's kind of a larger job. We're usually going to involve us bringing a team of people out. There's planning involved with that, obviously, budgeting, and then hopefully implementation and the end product. But it doesn't mean that we necessarily take our hands off afterwards and wish you good luck and you never see from us again. It's just this idea there is a big piece involved with it up front, and then hopefully that trails off into some ongoing support or some ongoing maintenance with that particular job.
Yeah, maybe even some of the things we listed under an MSP.
Absolutely.
So, like, what would some of those projects be? Like, I know we can help set up cameras.
Yeah, cameras are a big one. If something does happen, you want to be able to see it, right? And that's true for homeowners as well as our commercial clients. We work with a variety of camera systems. We do have our own that we can get in that are more custom. They allow a little bit more flexibility. But we also do work with Ring, Nest, and a couple of the more like consumer grade pieces of hardware as well. To fully set up those systems, it can actually be a little bit intensive if you're doing more than just a doorbell here and there. So we've worked with those as well. Again, we can kind of scale it to your needs and your wants, but being able to get everything kind of all done at once with a little bit of expert care, it's great.
Audio is another big one. Audio and home entertainment systems. Yeah. How much do we help with that?
There's, again, it's a scale of things that we can do, but everything from some Google Home systems that we've had luck with doing special custom zoning throughout the house. That can be really, really neat. So you want something to play outside on your patio, you just tell Google to play it on your patio. That's always fun. Sonos is another great brand that we work with a lot, but we also can do some more custom things with the audio and install full-on speaker systems for everything from just a small storefront all the way up to a large hall, like a banquet hall where you're going to have a lot of people. We've even gotten in speakers that fit into ceiling tiles. So if you don't look twice, you barely even know they're there. So being able to hide those sort of things and just put that little bit of love on it, and hopefully make it easier for you to use so that it actually sounds as good as it looks.
So phones, VoIP, landlines, what are some of the things we help in that context?
Yeah, we are a full telecom as well. Add that to the list of things that we can do. So we handle VoIP lines, which is voice over IP. That just means it's going through the internet. So your phone connects to the internet, usually alongside the computer, for a desktop phone. That one's a little bit more business focused, but being able to go out and get numbers for you or move over your existing numbers to a system that we are able to have full control over. We can set custom voicemails. We can set custom ring groups. So again, like I was saying with the emails, and you can have a group of people, maybe your sales department, maybe your billing department, and have all of them get the email at the same time. We do the same thing with those phone calls. So if somebody calls looking for somebody in sales, hey, all 4 salespeople, their phones ring. And if a voicemail gets left, hey, that also goes to all 4 of those salespeople. So getting those systems all put into place, figured out, and organized, that takes a lot of consulting and a lot of back and forth between us and the client there to make sure that they get everything as perfect as possible for them.
Would you say it's a pretty modular system too, or?
It can be. There's a lot of customization that you can do, and there's a lot of add-on features that you can get. I know some of the ones that we offer are things like texting lines, so you're able to actually text your customers. We can do transcriptions on the voicemails. So if you get those as an email, you don't even have to listen to them. You can just read it off real quick. There's a ton of things that you can add on. And of course, you can always add on extra numbers and extra lines that are still linked to that main number. So that number that you've been using for years that you've already given out to all of your customers, they can still call that number and reach, the perfect party for them to reach on the end of that call.
So we've helped with new construction a few different times on site, but what exactly do we do regarding new construction?
Yeah, new construction, and now I want to define that real quick. This is when the studs have been put up, but the drywall hasn't been finished. Once drywall is up on a building, we do get a little bit more limited with what we can do. It's a case-by-case basis. But if you're building a new construction, whether it's a home or a business, once again, we can do the full networking map. We can do all the wire runs and get kind of plan for the future for, okay, which spots are going to need Wi-Fi, which spots are going to need cameras, which spots are going to need, the in-wall Ethernet ports that we actually plug into. And once we plan all that out, we can run the wires, get a centralized location for all of the networking equipment that's going to make all of this run, and go ahead and finish up that job. Once the drywall does actually go up, we polish everything off and hand it over to you, so you have a good start in your new building.
And our last kind of talking point under projects would be networking design. What exactly is that?
Goes hand in hand with what I was just saying. It would be impossible to kind of have the new construction without the networking design. So again, that's planning out how everything is going to fit into the puzzle for, again, either your home or your business. So are you going to need a firewall? What kind of router are you going to need? What's your internet speed coming in, and what speed do you need inside the building? Where are we going to put those Wi-Fi points so that, we want to make sure you have a Wi-Fi AP in every room that you need it in, if that's the case, all the way to, okay, we have, our main network that we want to keep as locked down as possible. Are we going to set up some guest networks for clients that might come in or customers that might come in? We want them to be able to get to the internet, but just not our internet, right? Not our stuff. So being able to separate all of that out and plan all of that. And again, kind of back to what we were saying, hopefully being able to, in an ongoing fashion, keep up with that network design and make changes and roll out new features as they're needed.
Yeah, it goes quite well hand in hand with the new construction project or like a full management or IT consulting.
Yes, that kind of brings us to the end of all of the things we do. That's not everything. We always joke that if it has a cord or batteries, if it plugs into the wall, or it can be charged, we probably work on it in some way, shape, or form. Definitely we want people to reach out to us whenever they do need help. But with all of these different things that we can do and all of these different things that we have done, we have quite a bit of insight into the world of IT and the world of digital devices, and hopefully proven that we have a little bit of credibility for the rest of these episodes.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to point out is in the future, we really want this show to be super, super interactive and kind of answer what you want to have answered. So we're definitely looking for questions and talking points in the comments. So if you would be so kind as to start leaving some of those comments. Eventually, we want to take this live so that we can answer some of these questions on the fly and really shape the show to what you would like to see. But if you can start getting some of those questions down there in those comments below so that we can start planning some of these, hopefully really do this on a regular basis, and again, provide information that you actually want to hear and to learn about.
Yeah, because for now, we're just kind of making stuff up,
Totally ad-libbing it here. I don't even have a script on this computer. I'm staring at a blank screen. No, definitely any comments, likes, even if it's just constructive criticism, it's going to help us along Give us a follow too so you never miss an episode. And as we continue to do this and get better, it's going to be even better for you. So you're going to want to stick around. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening.